I mentioned one of the things that I watched
Mm-hmm.
On our mini or our little break for a week. Moon Knight,
Dude.
episode 1 this past
Do you
week.
think it's enough time has passed now that we can do spoilers? I mean, because there's not really a lot of
Why do you care?
spoilers.
We always spoil episodes. What are you talking
Well,
about?
I'm saying, do we need the pizza
No,
time?
we don't. Also, I think they really dropped the ball doing one.
I don't think you understand how
They-
much I love
they-
the pizza time.
They dropped the ball.
What?
Disney did. I'll tell you right
For
now.
what?
They dropped the ball.
Pizza time.
There. So that's your warning. One more time. Spoilers.
Pizza time.
I'm not jumping into it now, but
For
I'm
somebody who
I'm
took-
just letting you know.
That much time to make that little drop, you're really hesitant to use it.
It's
Like,
not that hard, man.
you seriously, like, you just hold on to it like, man.
Pizza time.
All right. No, I think Disney dropped the ball in a sense that they should have had 2 episodes instead of just 1, because I think it's criminal that I have to wait until Wednesday for the 2nd episode of this show to come out. Because
So you're just being a bitch.
yeah, I'm being a little bitch. being a bitch. No,
Little bitch.
I enjoy this a lot. I think that
I watched it twice already.
it might be a little hard for people to kind of grasp what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
That don't really have a reference for Moon Knight. I think they do well enough to kind of explain that he has multiple personalities.
Mm-hmm.
But I can understand that somebody that doesn't understand Mark Spector and Stephen Merchant and Moon Knight and Mr. Knight and
Stephen Grant.
what did I say?
Stephen Merchant is an actor.
Oh.
Great actor.
Anyway, so I think there's a lot to it, but I think that it's great that they got somebody like Oscar Isaac, who is a great actor who can, because really he has to play 4 different characters.
Oh, the scene where he is ordering the steak, heartbreaking. Like, you can just see, like, in his face, he's just like,
because he has to play Steven, he has to play Mark, he has to play Moon Knight, he has to play Mr. Knight, who we'll see later in the show.
we'll probably see Jake Lockley,
Probably,
who is the cab driver.
yeah. So it's
Well, I don't know. It's only 6 episodes. What the
yeah, that's
fuck?
fuck off, Disney.
Yeah.
Stop this shit. Unless they are really trying to build towards a Midnight Suns thing with Blade and everything. It's like, why? There's no need for this to be 6 episodes.
Hang on. Remember how we talked about how episodes are seasons can be too long, like Daredevil season 1
Sure,
and 1?
but
Okay. No, hang on.
6 is not
'Cause-
enough.
Well, we don't know, because, hang on. Like, what I was saying is, I feel like I should say hang on one more time. Hang on.
Yeah,
So,
'cause that's not annoying me at all.
fucking,
Hang on.
we have talked
You're
about
like the
before.
cat in the poster. Hang on, buddy.
Hang in there. We have talked. That cat's dead, by the way. We have no amount of positivity changes that shit.
Shit.
By the way,
Depending on how old that poster is, I guess.
I just bought it last year. Well,
Well,
uh,
if it was more than 15 years ago, it's probably dead.
yeah.
Anyway.
The
Right.
point of yeah.
So
yeah.
you're thinking that we don't know yet, right? So we don't have a full reference of
we
don't even-
also talk about
Sure.
the other way, which is why make it a certain specific set of episodes, or you know, if the creators want to make a 6 episode
Mhm.
thing, why do you make them do like 9
Okay.
or 10?
I think you're right. But,
We don't know.
but my defense in that is you have to do a lot. And a buddy of mine mentioned this when we were talking about it. He made a good point because he said it's going to feel rushed because there's a lot of
Yes.
shit you have to explain. Because you're not only so now you're introducing. Because you could argue that the Asgardians were gods, but the way that they're portrayed in the MCU is they're more of space alien gods that we don't understand, right? But now you're trying to introduce gods into the MCU, so you've got to explain. I can't pronounce the name. Khonshu. You got to introduce them. You got to set up the fact that and they already did it in the first episode, but you got to really drive it home after that with Mr. Knight and Moon Knight of like, there's multiple personalities to this character. You got to really develop Ethan Hawke's character. Look, I don't know a ton about Moon Knight, but I know enough to know that, he's got the multiple personalities.
It's complicated.
I know about Khonshu. I know about all that shit. But I just feel like it's going to be really hard to explain that in 6 episodes. But to defend your point, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
If they were like 90-minute episodes. If you could make them longer,
Right.
like 6 like movies,
Mhm.
then I could say. But I'm just worried that 6 episodes isn't going to be enough to explain it.
Despite what I just said as a caveat, which we just talked about, I still agree with you. 6 episodes is not enough. I like to think, until I see the whole run, I like to think that they have a plan in mind to make it not feel rushed, because so far it hasn't felt rushed. But I'm only 1 episode in. But I also agree with you that it troubles me that there's only 6.
What I want to know is, why was Wanda 9? Like,
Right?
Why was WandaVision 9, but they were half-hour episodes, and then every show after that was 6 episodes an hour each.
Right.
I don't
I
understand
don't
why
know.
they changed that. But again, I think that's because of COVID.
And wait,
because WandaVision wasn't supposed to be first.
But didn't WandaVision end up being like close to 40 minutes by the end of it though?
yeah, like the first couple episodes are only 30
They're
minutes.
supposed to be like
and
sitcom
then,
styled.
Yeah, as the show progresses, they get longer.
And look, I've seen, in a lot of these different series, I've seen, like, you look through the episode listing, it's like 47, 52, 57, 51, we're at a general,
Yeah.
they don't have ads and ad breaks, and they're not on network television, so they don't have, granted, you don't want to write, if you have a half an hour worth of stuff, you don't want to pad it out to an hour.
Sure, because then idiots like us will get on a podcast and be like, hey, it's padded.
But overall, like, I'm super excited about it. I like that we got to see Moon Knight. I like that we I love
that they didn't show him until the last shot. I thought that was really cool.
I know we talked about it off the air,
Yeah.
and I've discussed it with a couple other friends. I was thinking, like, whether they're going to show what actually happened when he blacks out during the big chase scene. And the more I talk about it, the more I ask my friends and stuff, the more I realize I kind of hope they don't.
Yeah, it's better this way.
Yeah.
I like it.
I kind of hope they just don't show it.
And that's the thing too. I think that you and I both loved it. I thought it was. I like I said to you.
Wait a second. Sorry. Continue your thing, but I got something too. Go. Sorry, I don't want to cut your.
No, I really love this episode, and I think part of it is, and like I was saying, I wish they would have had 2 episodes as the premiere because it is paced really well. It is, and I think this is the first time since maybe Loki, because Hawkeye definitely felt like a TV show, but Loki felt more cinematic, and this feels like more of a movie than a TV show.
Yeah.
And I think the first episode is paced really well.
Yeah.
And before you know it, it's over. And I was like, oh, shit, I can't wait for next week.
Right, yeah. Okay, so I just figured it out. I just figured out why it's 6 episodes. So the first
'Cause that's what Feige said?
the first 5 episodes are going to be point of view episodes. This first one was Stephen Grant. This next one is going to be Mr.
It's going to
Knight.
be each personality.
The third one is going to be Mark Spector. The fourth one is going to be either Lockley or Khonshu or Moon Knight or whatever. And then the 5th and 6th will deal with, and maybe even Harrow might even get his own episode. But I just realized that would make a lot of sense, and actually that would be a really cool way to do this series. Is like you just saw
you see each aspect
like
of his
5 days in the life
personality.
of Stephen Grant. Let's look at those same 5 days in the life of Mr. Knight or something.
Yeah.
Because from the promos I've seen for episode 2, we're going to see him this episode, I think.
Mr. Knight?
Apparently. They had a promo, a preview for the episode 2, and I thought they showed.
Yeah, I think also, if anybody wants to complain about not seeing Moon Knight until the end of the episode, I think you missed the promotional material because you're going to see a lot of him and Mr. Knight in this show.
Yeah.
I think after this episode, you're going to see a lot more action and a lot more. And I got to say, like, the car chase scene was fun. I really liked the car chase scene.
I'm driving backwards. What?
Yeah, so the episode in itself, I like that it is kind of a mystery, and it's kind of a hodgepodge of genres because there's elements of horror in this with Khonshu. There's elements of intrigue.
That jackal at the end was fucking creepy.
Well, like when he's in the
background,
when he's in the elevator and Khonshu is coming towards him, and it's just the old lady. Like that was creepy. I love that, and I love the cell phone stuff. What was interesting to me. Are they implying that the voice he's hearing is Khonshu?
Yeah.
So, because he says it's the idiot, like
yeah,
which I love.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I love that there's like this weird tone. Like the tone is kind of weird. because it's got this weird jovial like 60s music in the background,
which I love. I love the song that plays when he wakes up. I can't remember how it goes now, but I love it. It just it's
when he
so,
wakes up in Egypt.
Yeah. Oh, and okay, so they're talking about his powers and stuff in an article I was reading, but I don't know if anybody else notices, but his jaw is clearly broken when he wakes up.
Yeah, his jaw is broken.
Yeah.
And he just readjusted it. Yeah.
So he has regenerative powers.
Yeah.
I think we can.
Well, and I think that's because he's
glean
got
that.
the spirit of Khonshu, right? So I'm imagining.
I think in the comics he does have kind of regenerative powers too,
but
he's super. I don't know.
I don't think. And again, what I think is smart about this isn't an origin story, because the way that it's portrayed is that he wakes up with a broken jaw and he adjusted, and then Khonshu says, "Oh, we've got the idiot one."
Yeah.
And then when he sees Ethan Hawke's character, his name escapes me, and you mentioned
Arthur
it.
Harrow.
Yeah. When he sees him, he knows who he is. So
as Mark Spector.
Right. So that is the implication. Like, okay, so he has been running around, and we find out later in the episode that he hid the cell phone in the crawl space. So I think it's smart that the show is implying that he's been running around as Moon Knight for a while.
So now we've seen in this first episode why Mark or / Moon Knight, if it's the same person, would take over. I think it would be really cool if this next episode was all about Stephen Grant, or the guy who.
No, I don't
and
think
they showed why he would fall out.
But see, I don't.
I want to know why he would somehow lose control of the body.
I'm also wondering why. Because most of the time, my frame of reference, and I have not read the Jeff Lemire. Is it Lemire? Lemire. I haven't read his recent run.
He's a great writer.
Well, yeah, he focuses more on Mr. Knight in his run, I think.
I read the first 2 issues of it. Yeah, it was interesting.
And that's more of like a psychological thing. But most of the time when I've read comics, they've more focused on Mark. So it was interesting to see the show start focusing on Steven. And that he's the dominant personality. As far as we know, he's the dominant personality.
I'll put it to you like this. In the comic books, they used to have this thing called
That's the problem with drinking seltzers.
Original, the handbook, which is, both DC and Marvel did, and they were these giant sprawling issues, and they each character from A to Z had their own little entry, right? And then they had Book of the Dead and whatnot. And when they had Moon Knight, they have like, Moon Knight, and then they have real name is like the first entry. Now, for instance, then they would have something like known aliases like down the row, right? After first appearance and, birth date and whatever, all that shit. But, so they'd go Moon Knight, and real name would be Mark Spector. And then lower on down, they would say known aliases, Jake Lockley, Stephen Grant, da-da-da-da. So, in terms of the Marvel Comics universe, yes, when Moon Knight takes his hood off as Moon Knight, he's Mark Spector. That's the best way I can put it to you. That's the best way I can explain it to you.
So, here's another question. So, when he's in Egypt, he goes to this gathering of people, and
it's not in Egypt. He's in Europe somewhere when he's
No, I thought he was in Egypt.
No, he's in Europe somewhere. That's clearly a castle in Europe that he falls out of or whatever. That he waves at the guy.
It didn't really look like a desert. It was more greenery, so
I
would understand how it's not in Egypt. But
if you notice the buildings in the village too, it was very
I forgot.
It was very alpine.
I forgot the British were shitty people and they stole stuff and put them in museums. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
Hey, America sucks too. It's all right. So he has the scarab, the golden scarab in his pocket. But when he goes in, and clearly Ethan Hawke, God damn it, what was his name? You just said it.
Arthur Harrow. No,
Harrow.
I love how
Harrow is leading a cult.
Susses out.
Yeah, but he's leading a cult, and they're getting the judgment tattoo. This person is. They're getting initiated.
Which is kind of cool.
Into his cult.
Amit.
And so he immediately picks him out, and this is where I was like, okay, I think this show is definitely going to lean into the more violent tendencies, because while it's a cut, because that's the first time we see him, and it's really funny because now you're seeing Khonshu and Spectre's influence on Steven, where he's trying to hand him the scarab, but his body won't do it, and it's played as a little bit of comedy, and again. That I'm wondering how this is going to work the rest of the show, because they are doing that traditional like Marvel humor, but they're also, when it cuts, he's bloodied, and those guys are clearly
very
dead,
bloody. Yes.
And so I'm like, okay, are they going to lean into a little bit little bit more, and we'll talk about this in a second because I got a bone to pick with Disney about this.
I know.
Amongst other things, but but it cuts, but we definitely see blood and go a little bit of death and all that. But that's the first time we see it, and it's awesome because this whole fight, anytime Steven gets too scared, switches in, and then it cuts back, and he's like, "Oh, what did I do? What did I do? What did this happen?"
And then
yeah. So that whole chase of him, like, it keeps cutting in between, and it's like 1 minute he's here, and then he's turning around backwards. This thing's out, people are dead, and then the logs.
He's trying to like shove a cupcake into a guy's face while another guy's taking aim, and then the guy who he was trying to kill with the cupcake is falling out of the back of the fucking truck,
and he's got his gun.
The car that was next to him is going off the cliff because that guy's dead. It's just like, holy shit. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. And but I will say this is the one time I really was like, oh boy. The CG was not great.
I noticed that, but you know what? I gave it a pass just because I gave it a pass, man. I'll give it a pass.
That's also because we were just talking about keep talking.
Right. Well, okay, like you can see like when the guy jumps off of the car onto the truck and then comes in the back door of the truck, you can see that like the actor's like standing behind those doors and the windows are blacked out and he's just waiting and he comes through the door. And then the CGI guys throw him jumping from the car onto the truck. Like you can see if you know anything about movies and stuff and how they do stuff, which is great when you see stuff that you've never seen before. You're right. A lot of the special effects during that chase scene were kind of like, I can tell these are special effects. You guys are probably not actually on an Alpine mountain road right now.
Well, that's the thing. I am more critical of that because I'm someone who believes.
And when the logs finally fell on the dudes, it looked really funky.
Stop putting stunt drivers out of work. If you can, I understand safety is a top priority, but you should try your best to do that shit in camera, and that should be practical because it's such an uncanny valley when I saw, because even Ashley and usually we don't say things like this, but she was like, that's like CG.
One of the first,
that's pretty ugly.
When they first,
and the logs, logs didn't look real at all.
When they first pan, now here's the thing: when they did the actual the actual accident with the log truck, that looks practical.
But when they drop it on the end, it's like...
At the end on the guys, it's like, what the hell? Even the guys look really funky, like when they get hit. But here's the thing:
I think that's TV budget versus movie budget.
When they first pan out, when the chase scene first starts, and he's driving down up to that curve, and you see the you're like, that's not a real road in the Alpine Mountain, It is like just like you were saying, like that was one of the thoughts that came through my head while I was going, this is cool.
Yeah.
But it was there.
But it was a fun scene, and I let it go. But in my head...
I tried, but I totally get it.
It's nitpicky, but that's just something, like, for me...
You're a multi-trillion-dollar fucking corporation who owns all of the really, the best, let's be honest, all the best properties on the planet, let's be honest. Nobody cares about Star Trek or DC.
I do.
No, you don't.
I care about DC. I don't care about Star Trek.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. Are you joking?
No, you don't.
It's the whole reason I have HBO.
You don't even care about
one of the many.
You don't
reasons,
even care about that.
One of the many reasons I have HBO Max is just to watch all the DC stuff.
HBO Max is great.
Yeah. Another thing too. I forgot to mention. I finished Our Flag Means Death.
I still have it.
I have. You're gonna be surprised. I will tell you this. It takes.
I just haven't had time.
Episode 9. Takes a turn.
I literally have no job. What am I talking about?
No, episode 9, it definitely takes a turn narratively that I was not expecting, and then episode 10 takes another turn that's kind of surprising, and I hope they get a season 2.
Okay, well, so then I will... I think I ended on season 6 or 7.
You mean episode 6 or 7?
Whatever.
There's 10 episodes.
Shut your mouth.
I'm just saying.
Because they released they released the first 3,
I don't know why they
and
did
then the second 3. You remember that?
Yeah, and then they released 2, and then they.
So I want to say, and I haven't been able to watch it since. So I want to say episode 6 is the last one I saw.
I'm pretty sure there's 10 episodes. There might be 9. Anyway, point is,
you shut your mouth.
and again, it might be just TV budget and they had to cut costs, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they did try to shoot it practically and it just didn't work, and they had to resort to CG. But
Yeah.
I'm just at this point, when you look at things like how good Thanos looked, and like the Halo TV show, say what you will about that show, but the Covenant, the aliens look really good. Like there's a scene in the second episode where there's a close up and it looks practical. But I guarantee you it's CG because nobody wants to. Well, maybe it is practical, but the point is that show looks expensive. That show looks like it's $10 million an episode, and I'm not saying this show doesn't, but there's just like, I don't know, like you were talking about when it's Disney. I feel like when you cut corners like that a little bit, it is more noticeable, and I think nobody that watched that first episode didn't think, yeah, that's real. Like everybody's like, that is a fake car. Those are fake logs.
Even the little kids who should not have been watching it
well, it's
knew.
not, like other than the violence, like honestly, it's not even that bad. But
No.
so what interested me, what I was trying to figure out was at the end of the episode. Because, in between, we find out that he lost a few days in the week. He thought it's Friday, it's Sunday. There's clearly a woman he was going to go out to have dinner with. She thought he blew him off.
Who was a babe, so yeah, I feel you. I feel you, dude.
And we also know that he doesn't sleep. Like, he was doing...
Staying awake.
Yeah, so I'm wondering is because... And again, we're getting dropped in the middle of it. So maybe Steven is aware, and he's trying to... I'm wondering how they're going to explain that in other episodes of why he tries to stay awake. Maybe he's having nightmares. I don't know, but we'll figure. I'm sure they'll explain it. But when we get to the end, where towards the end he goes to the museum, he notices that Harrow is following him, and he goes into the museum. What do you think was happening there? So Harrow corners him with his cane.
They don't show
and
what happens to his tattoo.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't. What it settles on? No, they don't.
But they show it moves, is what I'm trying to get at.
But when it finally settles, they move away from it, and they both look at it, and they're like... He
walks up to Steven, and Steven has his hands out, and he puts he balances the cane, the handle of the cane, in between his arms, and you see the judgment scale that he has on his arm move, and he says, "There's a lot of darkness in you."
Chaos.
Or chaos.
There's chaos in you.
And so I'm wondering...
But they both look at it like with a look of shock.
I'm still trying to figure out what that means.
But the thing that stuck with me both times I saw it was they don't show you... They show in the first scene with his tattoo, they show the one turns green, the guy lives. The other time it turns red, the lady dies.
Right.
That's
the woman that gets the tattoo when he first meets him, or we first meet Harrow, and they kill her.
They don't show what the tattoo finally ends up on, whether green or red or something else entirely. And they're both looking at it in shock because, again, the camera pulls away.
Yeah.
And then he says, there's chaos in you, and that's when that's what allows him to break away.
And then that leads into
that Harrow is caught unaware. So
and then leads to the next scene where it sounds like a dog, but it's actually a jackal.
I'll bet you anything that it was half green, half red.
Wow.
And that's why he was like, I can't kill you, but I can't let you live.
Is the good one, but Mark is the evil one, maybe, is what he's perceiving it as. I don't know, maybe. Maybe they play with something like that. But I love the fact that they continue to use the Egyptian mythology and they have the jackal, which is very much tied to pharaohs and the afterlife and things like that. So that was really cool to see that. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love about Moon Knight, and I'm glad that we're in this era of Marvel where we've moved past the we've moved past the like science-based stuff with Iron Man. Then we got into the cosmic stuff leading into Infinity War, and now we're leaning more into the magical, mythical part of the DC or the MCU. And we go, and not only do we have the multiverse stuff, but it's also like Blade's going to be introduced. We have the Doctor Strange stuff, so we're leaning more into the magical side and the more gods and sorcery, and I like that the MCU is kind of going that way, and the show is more leaning into that. And Moon Knight is such a weird character, and it's such a fascinating character, and I would argue one of the most fascinating characters in Marvel. Yeah. And I'm really excited to see where they go with it. And that final scene when he's in the room, like how they shot that, I'm wondering how they did that because
his brother stood in for the shots where
he's the mirror's talking to him.
Yeah, when they focus on one of them, the other one is his brother.
Right, which is usually how you would do it. Whenever you have two when
He
you have
is
an actor
very
playing,
his brother looks a lot like him. So
Yeah.
so like when they show him and he's backing up and he's Stephen Grant, that's Oscar. But then when they pan over to like see presumably Mark in the mirror,
Yeah, it is Mark.
I'm guessing
He says it is Mark.
Does he say his
Because
name?
Mark, it says in the subtitles Mark. It's
Oh
Mark.
yeah, but so it's Mark, but that's clearly Oscar Isaac, and whoever's like shivering off camera, kind of, because you can still see him a little bit, is his brother.
Why wouldn't it be Mark?
No,
It's not gonna be a taxi driver.
it's not. I know it's not like a real big mystery.
I know.
It's just the guy.
But
yeah,
I
Mark
love,
was clearly talking to him.
I
through
love
the
how they
thing.
did that. That was really cool. And this was the first time in the episode where Steven actively gave up control.
Yeah.
Which again, I'm wondering if they're gonna stick with Steven being the dominant personality. But I don't know.
See, I don't think they will.
I think Mark is gonna be the dominant personality now.
I think what they're gonna do is I think it would be a really cool idea.
It'd be smart
I have
to do
no idea.
each perspective. Yeah,
Don't you think?
I would agree with
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Like if this next week we saw like Mr.
Wait,
Knight's perspective
is Mr.
or
Knight
something.
the cab driver then, right?
No, Lockley is the cab driver. Mr. Knight is a guy who runs like
He's like a
he's
crime
relatively
boss.
he's more of a PI.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he wears a suit.
Yeah, he's a lot less hands on.
We talked about this,
Yeah.
dude. That design looks awesome. Like that promo poster they showed of Mr. Knight, like that's cool.
Yeah.
I really like because I mean, Moon Knight itself is kind of a silly look.
Yeah.
Like it's a really cool like.
Oh, you've seen what he looked like in his first appearance, right?
Yeah.
He looks like a dude with goggles.
But like I
And a
really
hood.
and the Mr. Knight design's kind of silly, but I love it. And I think
And they
it's-
used to I don't know if they will in the they don't anymore in the comics, I don't think, and I don't think they will in the show, but they used to hit the tips of his wings used to be connected to these magical wristbands that he had that were like parts. He used to have like these different pieces, like these archaeological pieces
Yeah.
that he got from Khonshu that strengthened him. One of them was a belt. One was and then there was these two, and then he had an Ankh.
For whatever reason, I thought it was Anubis. I thought he was tied to Anubis. I don't know why.
Anubis is the
Death, right?
He's the jackal.
Anubis plays a role. I think every part of like a lot of Egyptian mythology.
I don't
plays a
know
part
that
of it.
much about the Ennead, which is what they're called.
Yeah, the group of Egyptian gods.
Yeah, I don't know much about that.
the first Avengers, some would say.
I know Set. I know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Khonshu
and
I know
Anubis.
Anubis.
Yeah, I don't know.
Ra.
Yes.
Osiris.
Yeah,
Isis.
I love that.
Somebody who's not smart is like, "What are you talking about terrorists for?" Like, no.
I love
never mind.
I love when they incorporate. I love it when like fiction likes to incorporate a lot of mythology, and
Me too.
I'm interested to see where it goes. I like I said, the ending is so great because he finally gives up control, and then you finally see the Moon Knight.
I like the mummification.
Yes, I
Yeah,
love that it's wraps.
That's a neat.
I
that's
love
a
that
neat.
so much.
That's a neat
so cool.
addition to the costume that kind of changes. It makes it because look, there are some costumes that you can't just translate directly to the MCU. No matter how much they are making more of an effort to be more comics accurate.
They tried that with Captain America and the first Avengers, making it more like
Yeah.
spandex. People, I like it, but most people don't. So then they went back to the
Well,
first movie.
Tony Stark, I mean, gives them a joke. And which one of between the two of us is wearing a spangly outfit?
Yeah. Well, and it's really funny is how the movie changed the look. I mean, yeah, Iron Man kind of looked like that in the comics, but the movie completely changed his design, and nobody cared because it was a cool design. So, and I love this. This is a really awesome redesign to make him the wraps of like the mummification, which is so dope.
Yeah.
And yeah, the scene is great. We don't see much of it, but the fact that he just brutally murders that freaking jackal, and then he turns to the camera and walks into it. Cut credits. I was like, that is how you end an episode. Because I remember texting you after I watched it, being like, that the ending was fucking rad.
I posted on social media, Moon Knight, more like Moon, yeah.
No, you messed up, dude. That's a terrible one. You go Moon Knight, Moon, all right. Because it rhymes.
I don't even know you anymore.
You're mad because you know it's better.
No, I'm mad because you're just shitting all over my really hilarious.
Moon Knight, more like Moon, all right. Come on. Do a Twitter poll right now.
No.
Speaking of which, follow us on Twitter at OPOT.
Oh yeah, we got
Podcasts.
Twitter.
and Facebook, Off Panel Off Topic.
We're on the Twitter sphere.